What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at the Herald, joined as always by our Inter Miami beat writer, Michelle Kaufman. Back to talk some Inter Miami, but mainly to talk about the billion-dollar tournament that is about to kick off this weekend. That is the FIFA Club World Cup. Not the World Cup, main World Cup. We're not there yet. It's the Club World Cup. So for those of you who love following all the great teams from around the world, here's your chance for the next month or so, starting this weekend. 11 of the 32 teams were scheduled to have arrived by Tuesday night. The buzz is building. If you haven't followed us on MiamiHerald.com lately, Michelle's already cranking out material on all the watch parties, all the teams, everything you need to know about tickets, TV, you name it. We're going to talk a little bit about all of that. 7 teams based in South Florida. We'll talk about why FIFA slashed ticket prices for the opening game, which obviously is a hot ticket with Inter Miami being a part of it. And Michelle had a chance to go to FIFA headquarters on Tuesday for the media event that they had there to kind of go over everything to expect. We'll have that. We'll have some reaction from Javier Maserano. We'll have a reaction from Jose Rivera, the coach of Ahly, the opponent for Inter Miami in this opening game coming up. And we'll break down that matchup a little bit. Plus, overall, we'll look at the big picture. Who's the favorite to win this thing? We know Inter Miami is not the favorite. They're in it and probably an underdog compared to the rest of the field. And also a chance to talk a little Team USA soccer, which they've been struggling big time lately. Fans are unhappy. Landon Donovan not happy. Alexi Lalas talked a little bit about that. And then Sir David Beckham. Interesting.
And Lady Beckham, which I like how that sounds. Lady Beckham, it sounds like, a character on Downton Abbey. Lady Beckham.
Or Game of Thrones, either way.
Or Game of Thrones.
Depending on your tastes at that point, what kind of
Sir David and Lady Beckham. Sir David and Lady Beckham.
Of House Winterfell, I guess. Okay. But anyway, back to soccer. Let's Michelle, let's dive in. This Club World Cup is a phenomenon waiting to start. And you were there at Ground Zero this week. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely Ground Zero. Yesterday, I was at FIFA headquarters. They had a little sort of a preview and a tour of the nerve center of this tournament, of this new. It's not a new tournament, but it's a new version of this tournament. The previous version of this tournament was very small. It was like 7 teams. They played 2 games, just a semi and a final or whatever. This is now, some people are calling it a money grab, a FIFA money grab, an opportunity to make a lot of money by bringing these 32 teams in. There was some discussion. Oh, I know. Money, sports, professional sports,
no. FIFA? No.
Basically, there was some discussion a year ago, like, is this tournament even going to happen? Are they going to get a TV contract? Teams are going to boycott. It's not happening. Here we are. It's the week of. It's 3 days away. The teams are arriving. 11 teams. 5 teams had arrived Monday. 6 more teams were arriving Tuesday. There was a schedule. So I was over at the Nerve Central. They gave us a tour, and it was interesting just to see what a big operation this is, because there are 32 teams coming from all over the world. They're coming to 11 different cities in the United States. And it was pretty amazing, really, to see the organization of these, like a giant weather map. They have some people there that are just monitoring the weather, because for flights, like if all of a sudden there's a big storm and the team from Benfica is coming from Portugal, they want to make sure that they know that there's a storm. They may have to deviate the flights. And then as the tournament is going on, they want to know what the weather is too, because you're talking about 63 matches over 11 days. Over 11 cities and 3 time zones. There are a lot of different weather fluctuations that are going to be happening. There could be big storms. What happens? Are they going to have to delay games? How does that affect everything else? So there are a lot of moving parts. So I got to see got to witness what they're doing. They are now working around the clock 24/7. They do have people 24 hours a day now in the FIFA headquarter office in Coral Gables, Florida, just to get this tournament, just to make sure that it works, that it's running, and all these moving parts. And then, the tickets, much has been made about the opening game between Inter Miami and Ahly did not meet expectations as far as ticket sales. I think FIFA just thought you bring Messi in Miami, it's going to sell out. And that did not happen. That did not happen. First of all, the prices were very high at the beginning, and they're using Ticketmaster as the main distributor, and Ticketmaster uses dynamic pricing. For those who don't know, if you haven't bought a concert ticket lately, this is not just a FIFA thing. I know there's been a lot of complaints. This goes on when Taylor Swift is playing. This goes on when, any big act, Bruce Springsteen, any on demand. And if the demand is there, the prices are high. If the demand is not there, the prices go down. That's how it is. Not just for FIFA. This is not a FIFA thing. This is a Ticketmaster United States ticket selling thing that has been going on. And to be honest, music fans have been complaining about it too, because the ticket prices when they come out are exorbitant. And then what happens is, if you buy a ticket early, if you fork over $300, $400 for a ticket early because you want to make sure you get a ticket, and then 3 months later the tickets are going for $75, it's very annoying if you're one of the people who paid $300. So that's what's going on with this. They're using dynamic prices. Some of the games are still in very high demand, including some of the games in Miami. Miami's the second of all the markets. Of the 11 markets, Miami is number 2 for ticket sales overall. The Real Madrid tickets, very high demand. Bayern Munich against Boca Juniors, very high demand. That game I'm sure will sell out. Very high ticket prices. The cheapest ticket there was in the third level up high in the end zone, was $300 plus for the cheapest. So that game, Bayern Munich against Boca Juniors, that is a really big match in Miami. The Real Madrid match is also a very big match. Inter Miami against Ahly, not as big.
Not name-wise, no. Messi, yes, but the other one with the Boca, that's two heavyweights, two huge brand names.
Two heavyweights, right. And the other thing is, with having Messi and Inter Miami here in Miami, in hindsight, that might not have been the best idea, because people in South Florida have had a chance for 2.5 years to see Messi play with Inter Miami at Chase Stadium. This is not a novelty anymore for people down here. They've had a chance to see him play for 2.5 years with Inter Miami at Chase Stadium. So if you really want to see Messi, you've had many opportunities. Plus, Argentina played here at Copa America. So this is not a big novelty like, oh my God, Messi's playing in Miami. He's been playing in Miami for 2.5 years. They would have been better served, honestly, to have the opening match with Messi if they wanted to have Messi somewhere else that doesn't get Messi all the time, because those markets are much more likely, as we see with his MLS matches, they do sell out those games in other places. So that may have been a mistake to have the opening game with Messi in Miami. If they wanted it to be Miami, they should have maybe had Bayern Munich against Boca or Real Madrid or one of those other teams. So I think strategically that maybe was not the most thought out idea. Maybe they didn't realize that. In any case, ticket prices were going. Last week you could have gotten for $55. They're now back up to about $75 for the cheapest ticket for the opening match. And they are also doing some promotions with the local Miami-Dade College, which has 100,000 students. They have a partnership with FIFA that they started in 2024, where they're doing some different collaboratives, and they are offering deep discounted tickets of $20 for students at Miami-Dade, and they can even get 2 complimentary or 3 complimentary with the $20 ticket, and they have 100,000 students. So I think they're planning to fill. It's not going to look good if the opening game is not full. So they're doing everything they can to fill it. But the tickets are selling for other games in other markets, and even in this market. The opening game has been a disappointment ticket-wise.
Yeah, I mean, if you were talking Messi playing for Argentina, then they're counting on the Argentina faithful that will go to every single game. But this isn't the case, obviously. And only one time out of these opening 3 are they on the road, right? If I'm not mistaken, Atlanta, the
Yeah,
Atlanta game.
Atlanta.
That's it.
Yeah, they come back and play. They come back and play Palmeiras, which is, by the way, the top team in Brazil. They are a Brazilian power right now. They've won back-to-back Brazilian titles. They won Copa Libertadores. That's a very strong Brazilian team, and they're playing against Inter Miami in Miami. So
Right.
people who wanted to see Messi in Miami are probably getting tickets more for the Palmeiras match,
Right.
and Brazilians are getting tickets for the Palmeiras match than
Right.
Ahly. Ahly is a very, very good Egyptian team. They've won more titles than any team in Africa, but is not one of the high-profile names that people are clamoring to go see for the most part in
Right.
Miami.
Yeah, it's not one of the name brand teams that we see in this tournament that are scattered everywhere. Maybe flipping it and having that as the opening game with Palmeiras would have been better, and then Al Ali maybe it could have done as the third match and done it somewhere else where you just draw just because it's Messi and like you're saying,
Yeah,
like
but
the
the
whole
buzz,
family.
but there is definitely a buzz around here. I mean, there are big watch parties that are planned, at the Clevelander, in Doral, Grails, a lot of places in Wynwood, Fritz and Franz, and Coral Gables. There are
Yeah,
big, big, watch parties in Fort Lauderdale too. So
oh
there
yeah,
are watch parties that are being planned, street parties, things going on around the event. Yeah, I mean, we're 3 days away now,
yeah,
and we're going to see what happens. I mean, it's some of the biggest teams in the world, whether they wanted to come or not, they're coming. The money is huge. The breakdown of the money, we call it, it is $1 billion tournament. And for example, the MLS teams are getting $9.5 million just for participating. So Inter Miami, just for showing up, is going to get $9.5 million. And the same for Seattle and the same for LAFC. All the teams around the world get an appearance fee, a participation fee of 9 million plus, because the European teams are getting even more. Each country decides, how they're going to divvy it up and whatever. Then $2 million for each group win. Each win in the group phase, you get $2 million. Each
huh.
tie in the group phase, $1 million. Okay.
Huh.
Then if you make the round of 16, if you get out of the group phase, $7.5 million to get out of in addition.
Yeah,
Then if you make the if the quarterfinals, 13.1 million, semifinalists make 21 million. In addition, adding on $30 million for the finalists, and the winner an additional 40 million. The
wow,
winner of this tournament, depending how many games they won or tied in the group phase, stands to win $125 million. $125 million potentially to the winning team of this tournament. That's why they're all coming. That's why
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
coming.
Incentivize it. I mean that's smart because we're talking about professional teams. This isn't the country pride, national pride like in the main World Cup. No, this is they incentivized it. Incentivized it well. It's funny because I was thinking of like when you said the initial just for showing up participation fee, I was starting to think of like college football teams, like when Akron goes to Michigan and like why are they going to go to get bludgeoned by 45? Well, they're getting a payday out of it. But
Yeah.
let's
And
hope the MLS teams
yeah,
aren't Akron in this tournament. Hopefully they play a little bit better.
yeah, because it really is, it's going to be a referendum on MLS in a way, even though the MLS teams are restricted, which I was on a call with Alexi Lawless and Landon Donovan yesterday, and not to get too off topic, but this is about this tournament. They were both saying that the MLS teams are definitely at a disadvantage, the three teams, because of the salary restrictions that they have, that the rest of the world does not have, including Al Ahly, including the teams in Saudi Arabia, the teams in Europe, the teams in Asia, the teams everywhere in the world. They can spend whatever they want to spend.
Right.
Here, MLS teams have a lot of restrictions. So these three MLS teams are entering this tournament basically with one foot behind their back, or with their hands tied, however you want to say it, their feet tied,
Yeah.
um, because they are operating under salary restrictions. So, they are going to be judged against these other teams, but it's not really a fair comparison, because if the United States could just open up the wallets, some of these teams, including Inter Miami, would spend a lot more money and have stronger teams. Instead, they have to work under these restrictions, and now they're going to be judged against other teams around the world. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, which teams are going to, come out of this and emerge. The favorites obviously are the biggest names. PSG coming off Champions League, PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Inter Milan, Chelsea. I mean, this is quite a list. And then
Yeah,
Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, Juventus. And then you get to Palmeiras. You get to, uh, Al Hilal, a lot of good teams.
yeah, good teams
And
that
then
maybe don't have the name recognition, but they're good, solid clubs, right?
good solid clubs. So it's going to be very tough for
Yeah,
the three MLS teams, including Inter Miami.
including
It's
Inter
going to be
Miami.
tough.
Very tough. But let's see. You had some reaction from Javier Maserano about the big, starting with the big game against Ahly, just to kick things off this weekend. Let's see what he had to say.
Bueno, claramente que bueno, es un mundial de clubes y en un mundial de clubes siempre te encuentras con los mejores equipos del mundo. Nos ha tocado una zona que quizás por nombres no dé tanto susto como otros, pero te digo que por rendimiento es una zona dura, porque bueno, me ha tocado ver el Ahly en la Copa Intercontinental y he visto lo que ha hecho no solamente en semifinales con Pachuca, sino en otros partidos, así que bueno, nada, de Porto y Palmeiras tenemos un conocimiento mucho más grande por poder verlos mucho más a menudo, pero con la ilusión de poder llegar en buena forma a aquella competición y tratar de hacerlo de la mejor manera. Bueno, creo que sí, claramente es poder participar de esta competición donde están los mejores clubes del mundo y con la historia que tienen cada uno de esos clubes. Es un desafío enorme para nosotros, sobre todo para un club como el Inter Miami que tiene tan poco tiempo de vida. Y creo que bueno, que el aprendizaje, o por lo menos sobre todo lo que puede llegar a demostrar al resto de clubes es que el hecho de poder empezar a darle a la competencia jugadores importantes, digamos, llenarlo de jerarquía, hace que también muchos de los clubes del mundo puedan poner sus ojos también en esta competición que sabemos que nos lleva muchos años con respecto a otras. Es decir, la MLS está cumpliendo 30 años esta temporada y bueno, es relativamente muy joven con respecto a las ligas tradicionales. Pero más allá de eso, el crecimiento es exponencial y bueno, lo que trataremos de hacer es que cada uno desde el lugar que toque, ayudarla a seguir creciendo. Gigante como todo lo que él toca, ¿no? Cada paso que él ha dado en su carrera ha generado un impacto enorme porque es el mejor y eso implica, claramente la MLS se ha beneficiado enormemente. Hoy en día en cada rincón del mundo conocen a nuestro club, conocen a nuestra liga y bueno, creo que en gran medida, no en todo, pero en gran medida Leo tiene mucho que ver.
Okay, so we touched on different topics there for those who don't have these great, for those who are listening and don't have the subtitles. He said, look, Al-Ali, maybe in name, is not as intimidating as some of the other giants in this tournament. But he said, but I am telling you, and he's been harping on this now for a few weeks, that he said, as far as how they play and their performance, I'm telling you, this is a very good team. I have seen them play personally. He said he's seen what they can do. This is a very, very tough opponent. And this group is tough. He said they are more familiar with Porto and Palmeiras because, they've been seen more than Ahly. But he said, make no mistake, basically, that Ahly is a very good team, and this is going to be a very tough group. That said, Inter Miami is excited to be in this tournament, the chance to play in a prestigious tournament against these types of teams with the short history that this club has had. They've only been around. This is the 6th year. He said it's an honor, to be able to play in this tournament. And, the takeaways will be that this tournament will grow in prestige as it goes on, as bigger names keep coming to the tournament, big names keep coming. And then they asked him about Messi and his impact, and he said, Messi is the best. He's the best, and MLS has benefited tremendously from having him here. Every corner of the world now knows our team, and basically that is because of Messi. And as we talk real quick before we hear from the Ahly coach, Inter Miami, they would have a tough time even with their full roster. Right now, they're still nursing some injuries that we don't know what's going to happen. Jordi Alba was not at training on Monday. Jordi Alba was not at training. Lujan was not at training. Yannick Bright was training on the side. He was not with the group. So he was back on the field, but not training with the group. Ustadi was back with the group, and Toto Aviles was with the group. But Jordi Alba and Yannick Bright, if neither one of those two can play against Ahly, that's going to be a big loss. Now, the other guys that are coming back from national team duty, Messi, there's already some buzzing because he took himself out of the Argentina-Colombia game last night in the 78th minute. He came out, uh-oh. He took himself out. The coach, Scaloni, said, no, he has to come out. They didn't say he was injured. They just said he has to come out. Maybe he just wanted to rest, figured, at this point, I need to just rest for this game on Saturday. There's so much riding on this, not only on the team playing, but on him playing. We're just talking about ticket prices for the big FIFA opener. If it's without Messi, that would be a big wah-wah. That would be a big wah-wah.
He's pretty much the attraction on the first game, that's for sure.
He's a big attraction. So he took himself out in the 78th minute. We don't know why. We will see on Friday, the media open practice Friday, whether he's there and whether he's training and everything is fine. But the other guys are making their way back. Fafa Pico, by the way, was not even on the roster for the Haiti game against Curacao last night. Again, I don't know why, but I don't know if he was injured or just chose not to play to rest for this game. So there are question marks on the roster, and they're going up against a very good Ahly team. And let's hear what their coach, who was just hired a few weeks ago, he's a Spaniard. He was just hired a few weeks ago to lead this team against Inter Miami. Let's hear what he had to say.
Sí, evidentemente hablamos de un futbolista que cambia todo, que bueno, para todos es, si no el mejor, uno de los mejores de todos los tiempos, y la influencia que tiene en todo lo que sucede en un terreno de juego es grande, lo sabemos. Sabemos que también hay muchas más cosas que contrarrestar cuando juguemos contra Inter, pero es uno de los jugadores que evidentemente tienes que tener en cuenta. Va a ser al mismo tiempo, yo creo que no antes ni durante, pero cuando termine el partido, cuando todos tengamos un poco más de distancia con el torneo, el haber podido competir contra jugadores como él, pues será algo que recordaremos siempre. Pero sabemos que va a ser algo altamente complicado, y a partir de ahí, pues como decimos siempre los entrenadores, partido tras partido, intentar ser mejor que el rival, y Ahly en este caso es un equipo.
Yeah, I mean, this is the audio was tough to hear a little bit. He was asked about Messi, playing against Messi, and he said, yeah, I mean, this is Messi is one of the greatest players. He's a guy who changes everything. We definitely have to pay attention to him, but they also have a lot of other players, that we have to pay attention to. He said, in the longer interview, he said also that it's going to be a moment that they will remember, of course, playing against Messi. It's a big honor and all that. But right now they're focusing on playing Inter Miami and making sure that he said there are a lot of things they do well in addition to Messi, and we have to make sure that we play well against them and make sure they don't have a good day. So, this is going to be a tough game. This is going to be tough. And again, all eyes are on Inter Miami and Messi opening game. What kind of showing are they going to have? It would be really, after this momentum that they built, we talked about it the other day with the winning the big win over Columbus and rising again in the MLS standings. If they come out and have a horrible opener in the opening game with the whole world watching, that is just not going to be good optics for the team. It's going to be kind of demoralizing for this team.
Yeah, this is where this sport is so interesting, because you just said that about the Columbus game, and it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's already been.
What? The Columbus game? We were just raving about, oh my God, they won 5-1 to Columbus.
But this feels like they just stepped through a door and went into another dimension, and now all these other names and this bigger, huge atmosphere for this event, and it feels like Columbus is tucked away in a corner somewhere. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll get back. We'll get back to that later. But
later
now,
on,
my God, here comes all these other teams, and it,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
And,
it just feels like
confusing.
two different universes, and it's
but
still
it is
the
two
same
different
team.
universes. But there are 3 universes because there's also national team World Cup qualifiers going on.
Right.
It is confusing. I'm assuming most of the people that watch or listen to this podcast are soccer fans and understand these 3 universes that go on simultaneously.
Right.
But to the average sports fan, I just got a note from a Miami Herald colleague just yesterday, who is not a sports writer, a news writer. And he's a big sports fan of other sports, of the Dolphins, of the Heat, of the Marlins. And he's trying to understand what's going on with soccer. And he wrote me and he said, can you please just explain to me in simple terms? I don't understand this Club World Cup thing. Is this like the World Cup? Or is this, because I see that the players are away from their national teams. I see that Messi is away for his national team and Fafa is away for his national team. So is that what the Club World Cup is? Or is that different from the World Cup? I mean, he really didn't understand what is the difference between the Club World Cup and the World Cup, and how they take these breaks from the league. So it's complicated. But one person who does understand soccer very well is Sergio Busquets. He's one of the brighter guys in soccer, one of the minds on the team, the great minds who directs the team. And he was asked also about playing in this tournament. Let's hear what he had to say.
Sí, muy emocionante, ¿no? Jugar el Mundial donde están los mejores clubes del mundo y poder enfrentarnos a ellos, pues es muy emocionante. Tenemos muchísimas ganas y encima pues aquí con 2 partidos en nuestra ciudad, en nuestro país, con nuestra afición, así que ojalá salga todo bien y podamos estar el mayor número posible de partidos y ir avanzando a partir del grupo y al final es lo que quiere un jugador, ¿no? Estar en estos partidos de esta magnitud y en estos torneos. Espero y deseo que sea una fiesta, que cada afición vaya a animar, a apoyar a los suyos, a divertirse, que haya un gran espectáculo y que eso se sienta reflejado en la cancha con sus equipos. La palabra mundial yo creo que lo refleja todo en esa magnitud y en el Mundial de Clubes, pues, por supuesto, con esos equipos, cada uno con su estilo, de su región, de su grupo, digamos, cuando tienen que jugar y ganarse el pase al Mundial, ¿no? En este caso, pues, en nuestro país, en Estados Unidos, en nuestro continente que es América, pues sabemos el tipo de juego que se hace. Yo también he jugado en Europa, así que así en el resto de continentes y bueno, pues al final que gane el mejor, que seguro que se lo va a merecer. Contento de empezar el Mundial, de abrir el Mundial de Clubes y delante de nuestra afición, en nuestra ciudad. Bueno, sabemos que es muy importante empezar bien y como tú dices, delante de un gran equipo que está acostumbrado a estos torneos, que es un equipo muy laureado en el continente africano y que va a ser un partido muy duro. Es muy latina, ¿no? Sabemos que en Miami hay mucho latino. Es una afición muy pasional que siempre está animando los 90 minutos o los que se jueguen y que siempre apoya al equipo en las buenas y en las malas y estamos muy agradecidos. Bueno, yo tenía muy claro, ¿no? En el club en el que estaba, era el club de mi vida, en mi casa. Estuve el tiempo que yo creo que merecía, que podía estar y luego llegó la oportunidad de vivir una nueva aventura, no solo a nivel futbolístico, sino también familiar, ¿no? De salir de tu zona de confort, de tu ciudad, de tu país. Y la verdad es que estoy muy contento, ¿no? de haber elegido este país, esta ciudad. Estamos viviendo una experiencia muy bonita, viviendo los últimos años de mi carrera y disfrutando mucho del fútbol. Somos un equipo con poca experiencia, ¿no? En estos tipos de torneos, pero con mucha ilusión. Y a nivel personal, pues contento de haber podido ganar tanto a nivel de clubs como de selección torneos. Como he dicho antes, la palabra mundial es muy grande, significa mucho para un jugador y sobre todo jugar este tipo de partidos y torneos. Y luego sabemos, ¿no? Que a partir de la fase de grupos, que sí que te da un poquito de margen, ahí ya se acaba, empiezan las eliminatorias contra los mejores equipos del mundo o selecciones en el caso del Mundial. Y como tú dices, cualquier error se paga, ¿no? Una distracción, una expulsión, una jugada, cualquier cosa. Así que hay que estar muy concentrados, ser un equipo sólido, tener esa experiencia y sobre todo pues también tener un poquito de suerte que a veces la necesitas. Sí, sabemos la magnitud del jugador que es Leo, ¿no? Lo que es, lo que ha sido, lo que será hasta que él quiera. Yo creo que no hay un jugador tan completo y tan diferencial, ni creo que lo haya habido, aunque soy joven y seguro que había muchísimos jugadores muy buenos. Y es un placer, ¿no? Poder conectar con él en el juego, poder disfrutarlo y mirar todo eso que es capaz de hacer, que es muchísimo y muy bueno y a la altura de casi nadie.
Okay, so real quick to summarize, Boosie, he talked about again, that it's going to be a great honor to play in this tournament. He's hoping that the fans really have fun and enjoy it. He said that the fact that the tournament has the word mundial, world, in it shows the magnitude of it. That any tournament that has the word mundial, the word world in it, just indicates what a big tournament it is and the magnitude of it because it's from around the world. And the fact that, what makes it so great is that there are going to be teams from all different regions of the world playing their unique styles that you see all around the world. And as a team, you have to navigate that. He said, I've played in Europe, I've played now in the United States, I've played on other continents. And, it's always interesting to play against teams from other regions and go through all that. He also talked about personally how happy he is since he joined Inter Miami, that he had to get out of his comfort zone. He said he had played his whole life in Spain where he grew up, and it was really good for him to step out of his comfort zone, come to the United States, to a new culture, to a new country, a new league, and that he's having a wonderful time, not only with soccer, but with his family, the experience that they're having. And I think, by the way, side note, that's the same for Messi and the other guys who came from Barcelona. Their families and their kids seem really happy. Then he was asked about, he said, playing in this tournament, you have to be very focused because any mistake can be very costly in a tournament like this where there's so much on the line. So you have to be very focused, avoid mistakes, and you also have to be lucky. He said luck does play into it in these tournaments. And then as far as Messi, of course, he's the greatest. He said, I think he's the most complete player of all time. Of course, I'm young and there were many greats who came before him, but of the ones that I've seen, I think he's the greatest. So that's what Busquets had to say. Ian Frey, who's much younger and didn't have as much to say as Boosie, but in his short clip, we see how excited Ian Frey is, a local kid, literally, who came up from the Inter Miami Academy for a chance to play in his backyard in this massive tournament against these big teams. Let's hear what Ian had to say.
I mean, I went to high school 15 minutes down the street here, and my family's all going to be there. I'm super excited. You get to play in front of, on the biggest club stage in the world, in front of your family and friends. Nothing more you could ask for. I mean, I would have never imagined playing on the same field as Messi, Busquets, and all them. But yeah, it's a dream come true. Honestly, I've learned so much, and I can't wait to keep learning and go as far as possible in this tournament.
All
Is
right,
that the trophy? Is that the trophy?
Is the trophy.
Wow,
That is
that's
the
nice.
trophy.
That's not even half of
Yeah,
it, and it looks nice already.
Yeah, no, it's a cool trophy, and it has a special key, which Infantino yesterday demonstrated to us. So it comes out flat. It looks like a flat, big plate, gold plate, but then there's a special key, and when you turn the key in the back, it opens up into a three-dimensional trophy.
Yeah, it looks
So
huge,
it's
elaborate.
kind of unique.
Like it's
Yeah, it's very elaborate.
interesting.
It's it's
Well,
a very elaborate
with
trophy.
all
So
the money,
everyone,
yeah, with all the money
everyone's
being
excited.
dished,
Oh, with all the
with all the
money.
money being dished around, I'm not surprised they have an elaborate trophy to give out after the end of all this.
Yeah. The other thing I want to point out real quick is this tournament is also an opportunity for the world to see some of the young stars who are coming up. We already know the big people that are going to be there, Messi and Mbappe and Harry Kane and that kind of thing. But there are young players around the world. And one of the biggest is an Argentine player who's 17 years old, Franco Mastantuono. Yes, Mastantuono is the right pronunciation. Mastantuono. That kid, I've seen him for River Plate, 17 years old. He is about to go to Real Madrid for a $45 million transfer fee. Okay. He is the youngest player. Last week became the youngest player to play for the national team in a World Cup qualifying match, even younger than Messi was. He is 17 years old. Mastantuono, Franco, this kid, watch out for him. He's going to be playing for River Plate in this tournament. He's not playing for Real Madrid in this tournament. He will be playing for River Plate. He's going to Real Madrid later for a $45 million transfer fee. And then another one to watch will be playing against Inter Miami, and this is why the ticket prices may be higher for the Palmeiras match, is a teenager, 18-year-old Estevão. He is 18-year-old Brazilian who is headed to Chelsea for $68 million transfer fee. $68 million transfer fee. Estevão from Palmeiras, 18 years old. He will be playing against Inter Miami and Messi, and he talked about what a dream it is. I saw an interview with him to be able to play against Messi in the United States. So that game against Palmeiras for Inter Miami on June 23rd is also a chance to see this 18-year-old phenom.
It's a shame Barca's not in this thing because that's like the one that's missing. That's like the one big name that's missing.
Yes, that is the one big name missing.
And you made me think of them because of Lamine Yamal, the other big time teenager,
huge
superstar
teenager.
that's
Yes.
burst onto the scene. He's about to be 18 now in July, and he's already being talked about.
He's amazing.
As another Messi caliber type player by the time he's done.
Yeah, some of these teenagers are really fun to watch, and he is the one missing. And it is a shame that Barca's not in it. They just, the way of the crazy qualifying and only a certain number of teams per country and whatever. That is a big name that's kind of glaring that's missing. But these other teenagers are going to be fun to watch. This kid from River Plate, the other kid from Palmeiras. So a lot of fun ahead. And then real quick, I guess we want to close on.
Well, before we do, I was just going back real quick to
exciting.
Yeah. Well, before that, it was just funny the juxtaposing of Busquets, the veteran, Frey, the young wide-eyed kid. It makes me think of going back to what I was saying about the two different universes. It makes me think of how like some of these teams, like when you're talking about Inter Miami and Big Bad beating Columbus and all of that, and that's like how they look. Like they look more like Busquets. Like we're one of the top teams. Now they go into this tournament, they're the little kids playing with the big boys. Like, and then they kind of look more like Frey. Like they're going this like oh my God, PSG and Real Madrid and all that. Like it's amazing, and that shows you how MLS is still kind of like what Maserano was saying. It's still the young kid in terms of all the leagues around the world. They're still relatively young, still trying to make a name for themselves, and it's just funny how it's just you go from being top dog in one place, to not so much and still kind of being the upstart in another. But it's the same team.
It's the same team. And meanwhile, there is a team that's has a much less, the team that is the true Cinderella team of this tournament is Auckland City of New Zealand. It is an amateur team. This is an
Wow.
amateur team. I repeat, I'm going to write about them later. They are amateur players. They have jobs. They have regular jobs. They have they're teachers, they're plumbers, they're whatever. They are people with regular jobs. It's an amateur team with their qualification system down there. They are the team that was selected to be in this tournament, and they are taking leaves of absence from their jobs to come play in this tournament. So that is a
That's
team.
awesome.
If you want to pick one team, you're going to have your favorite team. But if you're going to pick one Cinderella team to be rooting for, you've got to be rooting for the team from New Zealand.
Not just that. Do they get the 9 million or whatever if they score a victory in this thing? Or they're getting the fee, right?
They will get appearance fees. They will
Good for them.
These are amateurs. If they go out there and do anything, they do get an appearance fee to start with, which is already more than their whole. They're not even
That's what I'm thinking.
professional
Imagine.
team. And then, so they're going to split it up and just, divide it up amongst themselves. And then if they even tie, if they tie one match, if they get one tie, they get $1 million.
That's awesome. I mean, that's great for them. That's what I was thinking. Like, of all the teams that could really love the benefit from any of these paydays, imagine that. You're out there doing a day job, and all of a sudden you're getting 9 mil just for showing up. That's awesome. But all right, well, I know we're running a little bit long in this episode, but to wrap things up, do we want to talk about the team, the other soccer team that's struggling, or do we want to talk about Sir David Beckham?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll say really quickly that something that people are not as excited about as is the U.S. national team right now. Just quickly, because they played Tuesday night. They lost 4-0 to Switzerland, and they were down 4-0 at halftime. 38 minutes in, they had given up 4 goals. By the way, they did not have a single shot on goal in that game. They're in big trouble. They've lost 4 games in a row. Pulisic is taking the summer off, which is controversial. He said he needed a break. He's on vacation with his family while the team is struggling. And Pochettino, the great Argentine coach that they were so excited to get from Tottenham, he is really struggling. He's talking about passion, lack of passion, that the players don't care enough about the U.S. badge as they do around the world and things like that. Landon Donovan spoke out and basically, without saying Pulisic by name, said that it's, that he should be there, that all the players should be there. It's a year before the World Cup that the United States is hosting. On the other hand, we need to throw in that Landon Donovan himself took a 4-month sabbatical before the 2014 World Cup. And for that reason, Jurgen Klinsmann left him off the roster. So I love Landon, and I agree with a lot of what he's saying. It's kind of weird hearing it coming from him because he did take a 4-month sabbatical before the 2014 World Cup and ended up not making the roster. So we're going to see what happens. Right now, the U.S. national team is not in good shape.
Maybe it's Landon saying like a "don't do what I did" type of thing. Like in retrospect, maybe he's thinking, hey, look what happened to me type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so we'll see. I mean, it's interesting how that flipped so fast because there was so much.
They're lucky that they've already qualified. They are lucky that they are qualified as the host, because if they were not, the way they're playing now, they would not qualify for this World Cup. Yeah.
But it's alarming.
They're in already as the host. But
it's alarming in the long term, not just for the World Cup, but in the long term, because Pochettino was supposed to be the solution that was coming in to fix everything, and there was optimism. They won a little bit in the beginning. They were looking pretty well. And all of a sudden, this is turned on a dime, like real fast, alarmingly fast. So,
yes.
But we'll monitor that.
The panic button has already been hit among the red, white, and blue faithful.
Not the first time. And it's unfortunate because we're, at some point, do we ever see a ray of light with that side and the hope that it can somehow do it? But we'll see. But we'll finish things off with, as we've said now twice, Sir David Beckham. Tell us real quick about this story.
Knighted. Yes, it broke out last week that David Beckham is finally going to be knighted by King Charles as part of his birthday wish list. It's funny how that, I'd like for David Beckham to be a knight. He's going to be knighted. It's something that's been, everyone probably figured it was going to, Elton John has been knighted and Mick Jagger and lots of other
A
people.
lot of people.
So David Beckham certainly is British royalty. Let's be honest. He's one of the most famous British people. He goes to all the royal events. And so he's going to be Sir David, and Victoria Beckham is going to be Lady Beckham. So in the future, Lionel Messi is the GOAT, and he's going to have royalty as his boss.
So now he needs to bow right before he sees him, basically in the hallway.
Yeah.
And he has to give him. He has to put his sword down and do one of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, lots going on, lots to talk about today. But exciting times. The next time we speak, this Club World Cup tournament will already be going on and underway. We'll see what happened with Ahly.
Yeah,
we'll see who played for. It's going to be interesting. I am curious to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. Especially not just Inter Miami, but all the way around. Michelle's going to be right there in the opener, covering Inter Miami. So catch all the coverage there. I'm going to jump in the fray too. It looks like I'm probably going to be doing Real's big game in Miami in a week. So I'm excited to see. Definitely excited to see that atmosphere and what that's going to look like at Hard Rock. But we'll catch you next week to kind of recap Inter Miami's first game, go over the tournament and what's happened so far by that point, and we'll go from there. We'll continue to cover it in the weeks to come until the finish line, and then obviously we step through that door back into the MLS dimension and talk about that league. But until then, we appreciate you watching. Remember, you can catch us on YouTube, MiamiHerald.com, and obviously always listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, whichever you like to listen to your pods in. Until then, have fun watching the games, everybody, and we'll see you next week.